Islam means peace, right? And to gain that peace,
submission. It means submission.
Please.
Well, it's not peace, is it? Islam is submission, man.
No, it's not what. No.
Are promoting. Even from the Muslims. Don't promote anyone. So that is what we're talking about.
content over everything.
Are promoting. Even from the Muslims. Don't promote anyone. So that is what we're talking about. I don't agree with Mohammed Friday.
On cameras.
So yeah, because why? I have to be straightforward. Some people may be recording thinking, are the Muslims doing this and that? No, alhamdulillah. Yes.
And it shows you that we're effective in trying to iron out differences.
Okay.
And we don't hide them.
Okay, alhamdulillah, that the reason Christianity been corrupted, Judaism and many religions, because everyone start doing his own thing, start inventing in religion. But from day one, the Muslim, the companions of Prophet Muhammad, when they see some people inventing new things, likewise the scholars start clarifying the truth. So I believe that I said openly that Muhammad, we speak to Muhammad that he promotes someone. Some people I believe that they should not be promoted because they can confuse the Muslims. They're not really people who are following the true teaching of Islam. That's what we're talking about. Just to clarify that.
Let me also make a clarification, which is important. I'm happy you said that. Now, it's very clear what came out of that discussion, alhamdulillah, was the limits of disunity. Because I think everyone knows, I think really genuinely everyone knows the answer to the questions I was putting. No one's going to say from the Muslim community with any mind and heart that helping the Christchurch victims, for example, as an example, right, is going to be haram on any count. That would be a ridiculous fatwa to make. I don't think any sheikh in any part of the world would ever say that. Now, if anyone organizes any good thing in Islam, and even if they are non-Muslim, فَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. The Quran says, come together in good and piety. وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. And don't come together in ithm, in sin and transgression. This is something that we must eliminate, this unnecessary disunity in the ummah. What we're talking about helping charity. Now we're going to the level of you have to be Salafi. In order for you to give charity to this organization, it has to be Salafi organization. Wallahi, we'll start suspecting you if you say that. Wallahi, we'll suspect you for that. We'll say that you're trying to make money out of the charity organizations. Wallahi, we will say that. If you're going to say no, you have to be Diobandi in order for the charity to come our way, we'll suspect you.
But what if the charity is a Muslim charity, but when they're giving the charity, they're calling people to shirk? What do you do in that case?
Look, we're talking about charity humanitarian aid, for example. We're talking about Christchurch victims. Let's not discount the discussion.
No, you did. You said the Muslims
we said
come
Christchurch,
together,
brother.
charity.
Sorry, we said
you got a Muslim side that's giving charity,
no,
saying come to
said
shirk and come to
no one
Shia,
said shirk.
call upon Ali.
Man. We're talking about Christchurch.
No, that's what you do. That's
There was no example given today other than Christchurch.
Habibi,
and I'm saying.
Just want to say something.
Sorry.
The original question was regarding that individual that you put onto your program. That's what the topic was.
No, I'm happy.
Charity is separate.
No, but this is
trying to explain it.
No, it's not separate. I'm afraid to say, because what difference if the asl in al-a'mal is a ta'awun al-birri wa taqwa in all of the a'mal, if that's the asl, if doing good and piety is the asl, the hukum asl, in the a'mal salihah, in the good deeds, whether it be charity, what's going to differentiate that with da'wah? Da'wah is giving, propagating to Islam. Now the issue is, sorry to say, you have to be consistent with your methods. If there's someone who's got a specialist knowledge in certain things, they could be non-Muslim, we can use them. I mean, at the end of the day, da'wah...
You're mixing the point. You're mixing the point.
It's not mixing, it's ta'awun al-birri wa taqwa.
Even if they're Muslim, they're calling people to shirk. They're saying Ali gave me Christian charity, saying that's a Christian.
He only came with an example.
No, but he's mixing things up.
That's what he came with, example.
No, he says ta'awun al-birri
How far of what kind of people would you put?
Doesn't include shirk.
So he's the brother asking the question. Go
How
ahead.
far of what kind of individuals would you put onto the panel to promote the project that you're doing? Meaning, would you put people on the Shia or the 12ers? How far of individuals
I
would
think
you put?
at this
Do you understand
yes,
my question?
Yes. I think at this stage people know where we stand. Like, how many debates do we have to do with the Shia for someone to realize we're not Shia? I mean, is anyone going to say, this Mohammed Hijab is a Shia? He had 10 debates with Shia. He's a Shia now because he's no. If a Shia has specialist knowledge in something that I need, I'm not going to put myself in a bubble to say I'm not going to take from that knowledge, because that's ignorance. At the end of the
putting on your platform, meaning putting on your platform to give a speech or to raise money or other than that. That's what I'm trying to say.
To what extent? Yeah. To what extent that's acceptable is the extent to which it fits maslahah, in my opinion, which is the public good. If this, like for example, let me give you an example, right? There was a woman that recently, she made a video talking about her experiences in school and talking about this whole thing with, you know, like what they're teaching kids in school. Have you seen that video? She was talking about like, you know, what happens in school and whatnot, and she was just a muhajjaba, a Muslim woman who wears hijab and so on, and she was saying that this is what they're teaching kids in school, and she was making references to the LGBT community. This video was spread all over the Muslim platforms. Little do everyone know that she's a Shia, but that's a specialist piece of information that, had we not known that, is it in our interest to know that? Yes. Are we going to stop that woman from saying that, giving that message because it's not in our? What if this woman knows that there's an army behind her, that are coming? If a Shia knows, a Shia woman knows, there's an army behind us that's going to kill us. You say, look, I'm not going to accept your testimony. I'm not even going to investigate your claim. You're mubtada. We'll use the extreme examples to realize that this insulation, and unnecessary division is, number one, going to stunt our intellectual growth as Muslim community. It is going to stunt our growth. We're not going to grow at the end of the day. You think that sorry to say, Yani, do you think that any one community in the Muslim community now has all the answers? It simply isn't. We are 1.8 billion individuals. On at least some aspects, we need to be able to share information. Otherwise, we're not going to propel as a community. If we're going to feel like, okay, you know what, us S-Pubs, Salafi publications, or this group or that group, or the Deobandis, whatever group it is, we're just going to keep our information. We can solve all our problems inside with ourselves. The Deobandi school can solve all the problems. The S-Pubs can solve all the problems. Wallahi, you can't. You're limited in your location, your geography, and your intellectual capacities, and so on. How much can the Salafis help the Deobandis and the Deobandis help the Salafis in certain issues? Information sharing is required on certain issues. You know, let's introduce medical ethics to this. What if the Deobandis were specialists in certain brain surgeries that the Salafis needed? The Salafis not going to ask twice before he goes to them. Why? Because he realized the specialist knowledge. What if that's linked somehow to the religious discourse? It's gonna work. So the extent to which the Muslim community must learn to cooperate with each other is the extent to which it's in the public good. It's in the maslahah of the Muslims to do that. This kind of sectarianism, unnecessary one, there sometimes is a point to say, look, we don't want to be associated with those practices, and we don't want to, and that has to be clear sometimes. But if you're going to be so pedantic about it, now you got to be our charities. You know, we want to do a project, it's got to be our projects. You know, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. Wallahi, the Muslims will not develop. They will not develop. You know, there needs to be information sharing, especially with specialist knowledge. We have to respect that. Now, if you're going to hear this echo chamber of people, ideas where, no, it's got to be our group, our sector, where you cannot solve the world's problems. That has to change. Learn to accept differences. Do you get it? And that's it. So the extent to which I'm willing to put a Shia on to my show, or a Christian or a Jew, because let's say Shia's a mubtada, as an innovator. The extent to which I would do that is the extent to which it's a maslahah. If that person has information that could be the game changer in all, if that Shia, for example, let me give you an example, right? So I'm going to give you an example.
But the only thing that's dangerous,
no, it's not dangerous.
What happens if a Shia mentions something about their religion?
Let me explain.
And the audience watch it and they think he's making sense.
No problem. So what?
You understand?
If a Shia has, he's seen Tommy Robinson, he has very intimate relationship with Tommy Robinson. He knows Tommy Robinson's secrets. He knows one of the a'da of Allah's major secrets. He has evidence. He says, look, bring me on the show. I will expose Tommy Robinson. He will never come back out. Are you with me on this example, yeah? To what extent is it in the maslahah of our organization to say, let's bring the Shia on, he will expose Tommy Robinson with evidences, we'll get rid of this adu of Allah. It's akhaf dararain, for sure. It's the lesser of two evils to bring the Shia on, you finish off Tommy Robinson, and therefore we're going to have one less thing to deal with. Which one is the maslaha? Where's the maslaha? There's no critical thinking in the Muslim world anymore. It's all, it's my sector, get the hell out of here, man. It's not going to help us, wallahi, it's not going to help us. Muslims are losing because they have been told to have been divided and conquered, by the way. They've been divided and conquered. And they would love this, and the non-Muslims love this division. They love it. The more they can produce division, and especially in points of, where it relates to like intellection and rationality and information sharing, and even, you know, countries and so on, that's it. So they've got what they want. We have to be wiser than that, man. We have to, and there is a governmental agenda there. By the way, there is an elitist governmental agenda. It's been written in their reports. We want this group to attack that group, and look, it's Lawrence of Arabia, man. Haven't we seen this before? Come on, wallah, we haven't seen this before, man. Are we dumb or something? Are the Muslims dumb? Are we dumb? Are we actually just passively thinking that this is all, yani, because it's the way of this or the way of that? No, it's not. A lot of it is a government agenda, brother, and it's written in the thing. It's written in their tracts. They love to see the division. Now, I'm not saying there should not be any division, but it should be necessary division at necessary times. Unnecessary division. I mean, why, you know, wallahi, when the calamity strikes, no one's going to talk about the thing. We need an enemy, but it can't be within. We need an enemy from outside. The best, because then you're forced to unite. You're forced to unite. So I believe that, you know, just to sum up, it's about maslahah. And to be honest with you, I'll tell you, I'll finish with this. The Salafi scholars, they sit with the Ikhwanis. Al-Fawzan, he sat with Ikhwani scholars. You know that? Al-Fawzan, one of the major scholars, he sits with, I'll show you the videos if you want. He sits with clean-shaven, Ikhwan type individuals. And if not Ikhwan, they're definitely not Salafis. I can tell you that for sure. And same thing with Mufti, the big Mufti of the thing. He sits with people that, there's videos of some of their scholars sitting with Shia. Don't tell me about, there's a big disparity as what you hear here in Speaker's Corner and what you see, and what we all see. It's about the scholars, brother. Don't tell me that the scholars, there's a different ruling for them and there is for us. Khalas, it's done. They've done it. They set the precedent. It's been done before. Don't tell me about this, man. We know now what, the Muslim community requires desperate rescue from certain challenges and things. Apostasy is happening, you know, people are being killed in our countries. It's got to be in our sect. Get out of here. We know that that's to be honest, it's the elitist Western narrative that wants to divide us and conquer us. That's what that is. It is, and it trickles down to the vulnerables, the working class vulnerables in London and Birmingham and whatever. They think that, you know, they're doing the deen. No, they're not doing the deen. They're doing the deen of Donald Trump, frankly. That's what they're doing the deen of. It's not. I'm not saying there should be no what do you call it? Wala' bara within the religion. And we shouldn't call out the Shia, we shouldn't call out the Khawarij and the ISIS. We should do all of that. But at the same time, there's a time for that, and there's also a time for, you know what? We need to information share. We need to work together on this mas'ala. You know, the Deobandis and the thing. I'll tell you something, wallahi, yeah. I'll tell you a secret. I'll tell you a secret. You know, in the education industry, yeah, I was observing certain things recently. And I find that the challenges are so hard, and from the outside, you see people that will never, ever, ever come to terms with each other, coming to terms with each other. Brelvis and Salafis. I mean, that's an impossible mix. It's happening. You know why? Because they see there's a bigger threat. Your child is about to become apostate. Your child is about to become apostate. You know, in the face of the feministic narrative, where the woman is now, or the guy even, he doesn't know what's going on. These Aqidah issues are actually become secondary. I don't care what anyone says. They become secondary by virtue of necessity, because you would rather, here's the question, would you rather have an Ash'ari, if you're a Salafi, or a Salafi of an Ash'ari Muslim, or a Kafir? Wallahi, to be honest with you, sorry to say it. Was it kaf?
Oh no, I'm triggered.
Wallahi,
I
yeah.
am triggered.
Wallahi, is that sometimes it can become like that.
The problem, what I'm trying to say, is having a platform where you're giving other groups.
It's the maslaha. If this guy has the skills, we'll bring him in. If the woman has the skills, we'll bring her in. If it's specialist knowledge, we don't care what sector. Even if they're Jew, Christian, I don't give a damn. Most of my teachers in my life have been non-Muslim. Some of them are homosexual. I don't give a damn. Give me the knowledge. We need the knowledge. Don't restrict us to these 3 scholars in the world that they may not have all the knowledge. They don't have the
Why did
knowledge.
you speak about the kafir if you don't give a damn? Why did you speak about the kafir if
This
you
is more
don't
like
give a damn?
inter-Muslim thing. We'll come to you.
Right.
Oh, the kafir.
Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say, brother? No, it's very important, man. We've got to be straightforward about this. Our community is bleeding from within. We have to look at the bigger picture. We have no time for the sectarian thing no more, man. You can either be Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi or you can be someone else. Now we need Salah ad-Din. Now we need Salah ad-Din. Today is the day of Salah ad-Din. We need the guy that unites the people behind them, yeah? And then from that we can move forward as a Muslim community. Don't think that you're on a stage where you can have those, in the Abbasid Empire, where there was a fruitful discussion between the Ash'aris and the Mu'tazilis, and there was, the debate going on in the 5th century AH. We don't have the luxury of being able to academically disagree on that level no more. We have to get ourselves in a position of some kind of standing up position first before we can start talking about it. If you want to talk about Ash'arism versus Salafism or Atharism, do it in a controlled setting, in an academic setting where there's some intelligent students of knowledge doing the thing. You're not even qualified to talk about Ash'arism. I spoke to one of those guys that follow Sheikh Rabia, and I asked him, what do you think of Jawharat al-Tawheed, which is one of the main books of the Ash'aris? He said, wasn't that written by Al-Juwayni? Wallah, I don't want to expose the guy. But this is a fundamental mistake. You don't even know the names of the books and who wrote them. You don't even know the names of the books of your adversary, and you're talking about, you come to the park and you talk the thing, you don't know nothing. You read your own books of your own scholars and that's it, khalas, you're a big man now. No man, just because I know a lot of Arabic, I'm not going to come and start speaking about Ash'aris as one category. Khalas. It's a massive tradition. The Ash'ari tradition is massive. The Athari tradition is massive. The disagreements between Fakhruddin al-Razi and Ibn Taymiyyah cannot be summarized by some young man coming to the park talking tea. Bring it to the classrooms with the academics. You're not going to be able to solve this problem yourself. And unusual pseudo references to the Salaf and whatever, the Salaf. Which one? The Salaf is not a monolith. The Salaf is not a monolith. There's tens of people there. They disagreed with each other on some Fara'i issues. They did. Don't tell me that Ibn Mas'ud agreed with Ibn Abbas on every issue. They didn't. It's a nostalgic idea of returning to the Salaf. There is truth in the Salaf on the Aqidah issues. We believe in that. Yeah, go back to Allah, how we understand Allah, go back to the Salaf. Yes. But don't pretend that there's no difference of opinion in fiqh. Don't pretend there's no difference of opinion. No. The madhahib are a reflection of the differences of opinion of the Sahaba. When Ahmad differed with Shafi'i, he didn't do so on pseudo-intellectual grounds. When Malik differed with Abu Hanifa, he didn't do so on pseudo-intellectual grounds. But they knew that this was a respectable other opinion. La inkar from Masail al-Khilaf. There is no blaming in the Masail of Khilaf. We need to bring that back to the Muslim world. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen? We're going to be eaten out from outside. We're talking about, I'm trying to say, how to, it's not a leather sock, yes, a leather sock. Who cares if it's a leather sock or not, man? Your child is going to become an apostate. And you're talking about if it's a leather sock. How dare you, man? It's a leather sock, shut up! No, shut up! No, it's annoying me. It annoys me, wallahi.
Wallahi, the thing is this.
What the hell, man?
Since I've been coming to this park, yeah, people be talking about Salafi, Sufis,
No, leather sock, what leather sock, man?
The first time I heard someone just talking about one community.
Wallahi, is that?
First time.
Akhi, bro, they did it.
What is the conversation?
The leather socks, man. With the leather sock, they're going to kill each other with leather sock.
Mohammed Hijab,
He spoke very
the
well.
question what I was originally trying to say.
But he spoke very well.
Sorry, one thing, because a brother informed me that you were talking about that we should unite upon
Oh, you have to watch the video, man. Hearsay.
That's good, but the main point here is that,
Come on, Shamsi, man. We're talking about one unity.
The unity, of course, is beautiful. Allah said unite.
And Sharia, what's it called?
Unity is good, it's beautiful. But also, unity has to be according to who? To our desires?
According to Rabbi Makkali.
According to Rabbi... No. Is it good to go? According to Rabbi Madkhali?
No, according to the hadith.
Okay, I refute him already, miskin. He has no to say now. No, it's not according to Rabbi Madkhali. Now, according to Quran and Sunnah of Salaf. That's what is unity. Not unity, this Ash'ari misguided, this Maturidi, Jubendi, and let us come together because there is a greater enemy. And as I've
according
explained...
to the Salaf, because the brother just said the Salaf themselves did not agree on each other on certain aspects.
No, for all. No. Talking about... You know, so let us understand, akhi. Listen, Prophet Muhammad said, لا تزالوا إيش؟ طائفة. He didn't say the whole ummah, there will be a group of my ummah. So my advice, last advice to everyone here, sometimes we say things that which make it seem to the layman is good. But nothing is good, especially when it comes to deen, except
Let me say something that you're going to agree with.
Based upon the Quran and Sunnah, which is, let us go back and study. Because a brother came to me, alhamdulillah, we done a talk to the youth. We're talking to the youth, alhamdulillah. We advised them. So the brother came to me and I advised him and everything. I said, from the blessing of this ummah, there is no confusion except because we are ignorant. When you study, the confusion will go away. Because why? An-Nasihul Amin, Mohammed ibn Abdullah alayhi salam, made it clearer to us. And he told us the disease which is splitting, which will occur. But gave us the cure. What is the cure? Follow his way and the way of the Khulafa al-Rashidin. I'm finished with the way of the Khulafa al-Rashidin. And the cure again, لا تزال طائفة. Remember this. Okay, I'll finish. I have to go.
Okay,
I have to clarify that. I have to clarify that. No, another time.
There's something else though. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's a hadith which I want to end with, inshallah. I'll end with because I have to go. I'll end with this. You know, there's a hadith, some people say, what group should I follow? Yeah? And so a lot of people ask me that question. Look, I mean, here's my answer. Well, who am I? Don't ask me that question. I have no opinion, yeah? Let's go back to the qawl of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is even more profound than any salaf, because he's the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What did the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? Al-Hudayfa ibn Yaman came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the Sahaba, and he said to him, what should I do in terms of like guidance? And so on. He said, you have to follow the Imam, the leader of the Muslims. But he said, if there is no Imam, if there's no leader of the Muslims, if there is no leader of the Muslims, what shall I do? He says, فَاعْتَزَلِ الْفِرَقَ كُلَّهَا. He says, leave all of the groups. Wait a minute. Leave all of the groups, man. That's the prophetic advice. That is the prophetic advice. The Quran says in many different places that don't become Shia, in the sense that don't become groups, because Shia means sects. من الذين فرقوا دينهم وكانوا شيعا لست منهم من شيء لست منهم في شيء. The ones who divided their religion and become Shia, you have nothing to do with those individuals.
Yeah, but wait, Shia wanted to follow Ali, who was Muhammad's son. Doesn't he have more righteousness than Abu Bakr?
That's a different conversation.
I mean, that's when the Shia began to exist.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about this after. You know what I'm trying to say? That's number one. So, to summarize, forget about it. There are differences in the Muslim Ummah, but there are also priorities. And priorities are more important than differences. They are more important than differences. Priorities are more important than differences. Our priority is to get up on our feet. In this country, we have to know what the priority is for the Muslim community. The priority is our preservation. Our preservation is the priority in the Muslim world today, especially when Muslims are minorities in the West. That's our priority. Then after that, you can have the discussion about Ash'ari and this in controlled setting. You're not even ready for that yet, guys. The Ammi, the layman, has no madhab. You can't even, if you wanted to be an Ash'ari, you wouldn't know how to do. If you wanted to be a Salafi, you don't know yet how to be like that. If you wanted to be a Hanafi, you have to go through a process. It's not easy. I wish I was Hanafi. In the sense that I could learn it and understand the madhab. It's not easy like that. You can become a Hanafi. No, it's not easy, sorry. So, finally, to say, it's important. In America, this is the last thing, 23% are becoming apostates of Muslims, American-born Muslims. Wallahi. You would wish, if you're a Salafi, that they become an Ash'ari before they become a disbeliever. And you would wish, if you're an Ash'ari, they become, and so on. Priorities. Most of the Ummah doesn't pray 5 times a day. Yani, come on, man. Like, seriously, do I have to even explain this to the people? Like, it's important that we prioritize. Then we can have the healthy discussions when people have reached a certain level about these little intricate things. Allah hand, is it ithbat or is it tafweed, ta'wil? We'll talk about what Ibn Abbas say. What does AD mean? Does AD mean power? Does yad mean? But is it? We can discuss this, a linguistic discussion. You're not ready for that discussion. You don't even know the alif bata. So wait for that. You build yourself up. Have those discussions in controlled settings. And then we show to the people, especially in the West, that we have usul, principles of our religion. And then we have, certain things. Little minutiae differences. Don't make those things big, man. We can't afford it here, I'm afraid to say. Otherwise, you're going to see the community is going to change face. And our preservation is going to be at risk. That's what I want to say. Jazakumullah khairan. Content over everything from your
humility. Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
But why do you think that the Westerners hate the Muslims so much? They want to divide them completely.
I don't think it was all the Westerners. I think it's elitists.
Elitists?
Yeah, so the reason why...
So it's not the West, it's the elitists.
No, I'm not talking about population. I'm talking about the controlling powers. I'm talking about... Why? Because obviously Islam poses a great threat in terms of civilizational, the civilizational infrastructure, if you like, geopolitical. So, when Islam was united, if you like, under one banner,